Well, coming up tomorrow is the big Trampled by Turtles show at Bayfront Festival Park. We're very proud to be one of the sponsors of that event. Jayhawks are going to be opening, and also Emma Jean, local artist who won the Palomino Award, will be starting out the show. Gates open at 4:30, I believe, and the show starts at 6. And I have someone here who can verify that for me. Thank you so much to Dave Simonett of Trampled by Turtles for joining us today. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Christine.
Thanks so much for coming in. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So
you were right, by the way, on the times. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
At 6 o'clock.
Thank you. Just got to make sure
Yeah.
I know what I'm talking about here. It's been a while since you've been at Bayfront, I believe, right?
I think it was 2019.
Yeah.
So 3 years, yeah.
Mhm.
Feels like a decade. It's really great to be back, for sure.
Well, and I have to tell you, the last time that we had somebody from Trampled by Turtles here in the studio was in March of 2020.
Okay.
And Glitterati was in the studio.
Yeah.
And Glitterati, of course, has Dave Carroll of Trampled and also Tim Saxhog. And moments before we went on the air, they got the word that their show at Pizza Luce that night had been canceled.
I remember talking to them about that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, man, what a whirlwind that was.
It was so weird. It was just, everybody was like, what's going on? We don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I imagine that wherever you were at that time, it was the same for you. Like,
yeah, it was. I had just made a solo album actually, and that was what the dates that started to disappear for me was my solo tour, but that was that same week everything kind of got canceled for everybody. So, yeah, I remember it, that quite such a weird unknown time. I just had no idea what was going to happen, and it's great to be out playing shows again, I guess, to put it simply. It's pretty great.
And so, I was reading an interview with you from shortly after that happened, and you were talking about kind of taking some time, spending time with your kids, doing things around the house. So did you get a good chunk of time to do that?
Yeah, it's like survivor's guilt or whatever. You kind of feel weird saying that you enjoyed that time, but I looking back on it in hindsight, I had a wonderful break from touring. I say, like, there was a lot of, it was a scary time for everybody, but the part that I try to hold on to is that I was able to spend a lot of time with my family. We were touring so heavily, and I think when you get into a routine like that, it just becomes normal life. And then once we were able to step away from it, we all kind of realized that, whoa, we could have really used a break. And this kind of came at a great time. We all got to take a deep breath and be home, and just do that. Kind of like I was home for a year and a half or something, which is the longest I've been home in my adult life. So it gave me a lot of perspective, and I'm thankful for that part of the experience for sure.
And I know that the band found ways. First of all, people were able to do summer shows in there.
Right.
Once the weather heated up and COVID wasn't as much of an issue, but also, I really feel like your band took advantage of a lot of streaming opportunities.
We did a little bit of that, yeah. We actually did a couple drive-through concerts, like drive-in concerts, I should say.
That looked so fun.
Which was actually kind of an interesting experience. Everything was very weird when we did, because, backstage, you're at the venue, everybody is like so scared of everybody. You know what I mean? So you're in this really, it does not feel like an artistic environment that you're sharing with people. It's just like this, we're all doing, it was very evident that everybody was like, we're trying to make a concert happen for lots of reasons, to be able to just do it so everybody can make some money. It was just like, we're trying to do this thing, and it's really hard to do, and everybody just be really good so we can do this thing. So it was a little intense, but the experience of the concert was fun. It was so great to get on stage and play music, because we all kind of, there's always this feeling at that time that, man, I don't know how long it's going to be until that happens again.
Right.
And as far as like, I was looking at the people sitting outside their cars tailgating, watching the show, and I thought, man, I would do that. Like that, I would go to that concert,
Mm-hmm.
So I think there was some charming aspects to that stuff. While people got very creative in order to try to make things work, and it was interesting to see how people in a pinch can really pull stuff off like that.
And some of that I feel like has stuck around. Like, for example, you're playing Red Rocks next week, but there's also a streaming.
Yeah, which we never would have. I mean, that's definitely in the last couple of years that's become a real option almost anywhere. A lot of the bigger venues because some of them just switched to like streaming venues at the time, and they have all this infrastructure in there now. Cameras, there's like everything's just kind of built into the room where you can do that. And so it's a nice touch, like a nice little byproduct of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that's going to be available next week for the show is sold out. I see, of course.
Yeah, well,
So-
we're pretty flattered by that. That's for sure. We're pretty excited to get back there too.
Yeah, you've been able to play some amazing venues. Red Rocks, the Ryman. Man, that just must be the first time you go to places like that.
Oh, it's
Are you pinching
terrifying.
yourself?
Yeah.
Are you just like, am I really here?
Absolutely, and not even just the first time. Honestly, any time, because those two in particular, Red Rocks and the Ryman. Growing up as a musician, the places that you hear about, read about, see pictures of, bands, all the bands you've heard of really at those places, and they seem pretty unattainable at a certain time. I remember the first time we went to Red Rocks, we were on tour with Trampled, and we were in our little green minivan, Banjo Dave's his Chrysler Caravan, Dodge Caravan or whatever. And we were driving through Colorado. We had a couple shows. We were playing these little bars, and we just drove out there to see it, you know. And a lot of people probably know this, but it's just like a city park during the day. So anybody can just walk up there, and people run the stairs and stuff like that. But we walked up and looked at the stage and walked up to the top and saw the view and all these concerts that we'd heard of that have been there, and it felt really gigantic. And I never would have thought at that time that we'd be playing up there ever. And so to do it has been just a real honor, and it's pretty great.
And you've been there so many times.
Yeah,
it's like an annual thing now.
Yeah, thankfully it's become that. And then when we pull up to it and I walk in and walk on that stage, it's very heavy, And the Ryman is like that too. It's just like, this is where the original Grand Ole Opry used to take place. And I'm not always guilty of being a romantic in that way, but those kind of places and the ghosts that they contain are real for me, for sure.
Yeah, the Ryman in particular is just, they call it the church, I think.
And it is, yeah.
And,
it feels like it in there too.
Yeah. And that actually reminds me, both that and what we were talking about, we were talking about doing shows during the pandemic, and you got a little blowback last fall for, requiring some vaccinations or whatever, requiring some precautions at your show. And
yes.
you were very straightforward about it on social media, and I thought that was pretty cool. But my favorite thing was when Jason Isbell retweeted you and said, "Way to go, Dave!
Yeah.
Trample on, my man."
Yeah, Jason's a good dude, man.
That just cracked me up.
I think I'll never forget the "Trampled by Tyranny" sign in the parking lot, which it's like, this is what the hell is happening right now,
You're just trying to do your job, and it turns into this political thing, and it's weird.
I know, and I really don't. I have no political motivation in the whole scenario. You know what I mean? I don't care what people do. I don't care. This is what we have to do to get this to work, and I feel like there was this attitude of it was just a real disconnect. It was what am I thinking of? The word I'm thinking. It's like the people were just acting spoiled, like they shouldn't have to bend in any way to make something happen that otherwise couldn't happen. At least that's how I saw it, and it was irritating. But it's a contentious thing. It's the United States of America, so you can't have anything without.
Well, and you just laid it out as in, I need to do my job, and in order for me to do my job, we have to stay safe, and so, which totally makes sense, because this was a devastating thing for the music industry.
Yes, and everybody involved in it. It's not just the bands. People think that bands are being like prima donnas about it or whatever, but behind the scenes of every concert is so many people that's their living, right? All the stagehands, the people that make food, the vendors, everything. The people that clean up your garbage after you leave your beer can on the ground when you leave the show. All of those people were out of work. And so just the thought of having to do a tour or getting to do a tour, it's sure, we can make a little bit of a concession to make that happen for everybody. But, some people's idea of tyranny is just different than mine, apparently.
Right, yeah. So you have a new album. So you worked with Jeff Tweedy on this new
Yeah.
album. It's not coming out till October, but I have a feeling I will not see you again before then or shortly after
Maybe,
because
yeah.
you're going to be on the road.
We will, yes.
But so I'm gonna talk to you about it now.
Great, yeah. I'm
so
excited about it.
so when did you record it and where was it recorded?
So we recorded it.
And it's called Alpenglow. Did I say that already?
Alpenglow,
What a
yes.
beautiful name.
Thank you. Dave Carroll, our banjo player, came up with that name, and he lives in Colorado, so he sees it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We recorded it in this past November, so it's already felt like we're quite ready to have it come out, but it's taking a lot. It really one of the byproducts of what we were just talking about is that it takes a long time to make vinyl records right now. It's this weird like COVID thing, supply chain situation. So we make a record in November and it has to come out almost a year later. But we did it at Jeff Tweedy's in Wilco studio, The Loft in Chicago. So we were pretty excited to work with that guy. He's been one of my songwriting heroes forever. We're all big Wilco fans, and the fact that he was willing to produce our record was pretty great.
And he seems pretty chill. I loved what he and his family did during the pandemic. They were doing, I don't know if they still might be doing them.
They still do, I think.
They did Instagram lives, and just you're in their house, and they're strumming guitars and just
it was like every week, every Friday or something.
I don't remember. I think it was very regular at the beginning anyway, and it just was so sweet and so like, it just felt like, a way to connect with people and to give people something to enjoy during the pandemic. So I thought that was really cool.
I tell you, that in my limited experience with that guy, he just is music. That's all. That's his entire life, and inside and out. I mean, his studio is incredible, and it's just he goes to work there like a day job every day. Just goes to create, and that's what he does. He gets up and he writes songs, and then he records them, and then sometimes he'll record them with other people. And it was really inspirational to see how much work he puts into his craft, and it's a good. It was a good reminder to keep at it.
Well, and I imagine I saw you post something about Billy Joe Shaver after he passed away, and you were talking about learning from him. And I imagine, with all the amazing people you've had the chance to meet through the years, through your success, like you've picked up a lot along the way from different people.
Yeah, good and bad, But honestly, the few real like kind of musical heroes of mine that I've been lucky enough to meet, I've always been extremely impressed with. And I feel like, a lot of people say you're not supposed to meet your heroes. That's the old cliche, right? But the people I've met have all been great, and so I've learned a lot. They've also helped us out a lot. We've had some people in bands or solo musicians or whatever that have been doing this for a lot longer than us, kind of, give us advice and help us creatively, and it's really generous of them to do.
Well, and it kind of seems like you're, maybe perhaps like the Palomino grant that you did as a way to pay it forward. Is that
Absolutely,
how you see that?
We wanted to do something in that vein for a while, and the idea just kind of fleshed itself out pretty naturally during the time when everything was shut down, because when we started to come back and play, it was like, oh, we realized kind of how fragile this is. And also we went about starting a band the way most people probably do, and that's like a lot of nights in a van making no money and sleeping on people's floors, and it's some of the best times of my life. I'm saying this in a positive way. I think everybody that wants to be in a band should have that experience, like the early touring times. And it's also really hard, and it's grueling, and it's depressing, and there's also a lot of byproducts that come from that. And we know that we had help when we started. Like for instance, our friend who had actually just passed away, Scott Nelson, who's one of the owners of Pizza Luce. But back when they opened here, we were just starting as a band, and we wanted to go on our first tour to Colorado. We had like 4 shows at these little bars in Colorado, and we were going to drive out there and play. And Scott gave us a little chunk of money for gas, which pretty much paid for our gas for the whole trip, which was a huge deal at the time, and a cooler full of beer, and just having that made that thing all of a sudden feasible to do. So just like a little, we wanted to set up a program that, annually can kind of give a little influx of money, and whatever we can offer in, publicity or whatever, to an artist that's doing the same thing that we were doing 20 years ago.
And Emma Jean was the winner this year,
Yeah.
and she actually, during Homegrown, was right in that studio
great.
you're in right now. She did a performance that I'm going to share. I was going to share that later today
Cool.
on our Facebook, so that people can check her out and get there early and enjoy her performance. So yeah, I just thought that was a really wonderful thing that you did. So
thank you.
So I guess I got us off the topic of Alpenglow. Okay, back to Alpenglow. So you worked with Jeff Tweedy.
Yeah.
Did you have a bunch of songs ready when you went in the studio?
Yes.
It was all ready to go.
Pretty
Did you
much.
do any working? Of course you always work things out when you're there, but
Almost all of them changed this time, and that was the fun thing about working with Jeff as a producer, which we've worked with a producer a couple times. Most of the times we've made records we haven't, and everybody's been great and different, and everybody takes the role a little bit differently. And Jeff is such a songwriting guy, so for him, we'd play a song that I had written a song, bring it to the band in the studio, and we play through it. And then what Jeff was really great at was coming in and helping us kind of rearrange it in a way that we wouldn't have thought to do on our own. Changing the chords around, adding a bridge or taking away a verse, or just like coming in and kind of restructuring the song with us. And then, which was a really cool experience for me, because like anybody else, maybe if you've been doing something for a while, it's so easy to get kind of stuck in doing the things the same way. In my process, I'm definitely guilty of my process becoming very stable, and it's good to get some outside input. But he was really good at that, and doing it in a way that kind of still respected the song as what it was, and wasn't trying. He didn't turn us into like a pop band or something. He worked within our kind of structure, and then helped us go in creative directions in which we hadn't gone before. So it was a really rewarding experience.
well, looking forward to the full album. So far, you've released one song. It's So Hard to Hold On.
Yeah, thanks.
With a nice video that you had your fans submit their own photos and video, which was the results were just very sweet.
We felt that was very sweet as well.
Yeah.
We have another song coming out in a couple days, I think on Tuesday as well.
Oh, great. Okay. Oh, and we're going to hear It's So Hard to Hold On, and after the end of this interview, make sure everybody has heard it. And while you've been in town, so speaking of, kind of doing things that are different than what you normally do, you have played with at least two different projects. You're More Light, is that the one?
Yes.
That is that Al Church, and I forget who else is in.
DJ House and Al Church, and me and Eamon, our Trampled cello player.
Okay.
And that's kind of just an ambient improvisational weirdo thing. It's really fun for us to do.
And how often are you able to do that one?
This is the second time we've done it, so not often. We could probably do it more often, but honestly, it's the kind of project where, like, we played at a house, right? And that's like, gotta kind of find a place like that to do it. It's not something I would just go do at a bar or something, but it's a really fun kind of creative exercise. And yeah, this week I kind of had this vision of being able to just be in Duluth for the week and play with everybody that I play music with here, and it's working out. It's been really fun.
Oh, that's great. And then last night it was Dead Man Winter.
Yes, out at Earth Rider.
Nice. So everybody in the band is kind of doing so.
Yes.
I actually wanted to make sure. I know that Glitterati played on that bill last night as well, with Dave and Tim. And then tonight, I believe, Eric Berry is playing in Lazy Lightning 420 with Mark Gartman and Earth Rider.
Yes.
I think that's tonight.
Yep.
That's
so everybody has their bands playing this week.
Yeah.
We're not trying to make it all about us. But
Has Ryan been popping up
fun.
anywhere?
I haven't seen Ryan
okay,
yet. So
all right.
I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up and plays, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
I haven't heard from him.
Okay. And so this new album is going to be the first one since 2018's Life is Good on the Open Road, which now seems very ironically named, right?
Yeah, it was all planned out.
So did you have a lot of, since there is, a few years in between and you had some downtime, did you have like a surplus of songs ready, or were you just...
No, I wouldn't say that, and I never really do, because I feel like whenever I write a group of songs, they come out in some way. And so during the time when Trampled wasn't working, I put out a solo album and then a solo EP. So a lot of the songs I wrote during that time had already come out. But so we kind of decided once we were regrouping that we wanted to make a record. And I have, like you said, I have plenty of time to write, and I wrote a lot in that time. So yeah, I just wrote another batch pretty much. There were a couple songs, like one or two of the songs on our record coming out. I'd first put out on solo EP, because the solo EP I made was supposed to be Trampled music.
Okay.
We were supposed to make an album in 2020. We had the studio booked, and it wasn't with Jeff. This was before that came together. And obviously everything got canceled. And so, I mean, I had these songs, and I've been working on them. And at that time, I was like, I don't know, it might be 5 years before we can make a record. I have no idea. So I just recorded them like by myself in my little studio. And they were the demos that I just put out on an EP. But so some of those got reworked into Trampled songs.
And what is that one called?
That one.
I don't think that one crossed my desk.
I can't remember the name of it. Red Tail is the name of
Red Tail. Yep, Red
album.
Tail was the one that you had out right when the pandemic
look
hit.
Up this EP that I put
Sorry
out
to put
myself.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Well, you would think that I wouldn't just know that off the top of my head, but whatever. Yeah, that I will say though that was a really cool experience to just make a thing like all by myself. Like I'd never really done that before. Like I wrote songs before and recorded before, but I had to record it and mix it and overdub parts. I sang all the harmonies on it, and I played the other instruments on it. It's called Orion. I find like.
Oh yeah. Okay. Nice.
And it was great. It was like something to do musically in that time when we couldn't really do anything else, and so it was a really good learning experience. And it's probably something I'll keep doing, I think.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming in, Dave. And again, looking forward to
thanks.
the Trampled
Thanks
by
for having me.
Oh, it's just a treat every time you come in. We're looking forward to that Trampled show tomorrow, again at Bayfront Festival Park. The gates open at 4:30. Show starts at 6 with Emma Jean, who is the winner of the Palomino Award. And then it's the Jayhawks out of the Twin Cities. Always happy to see them.
Very excited.
And then Trampled takes the stage. So thanks so much for giving us a little time today.
My pleasure.
And really looking forward to the show tomorrow.
Thanks, Christine.
And again, the North is also very proud to be one of the co-sponsors of that Trampled by Turtles show down at Bayfront Park tomorrow.